All right, welcome back. We are here with more Feature Bootcamp. This is going into, here we go. We are going into week 2. So we are moving from sketchbook into story beats, meaning that this week you could get a little feedback on your outline if you have one ready to go. And we hope that everyone, if you've not yet signed up, you can join our group by signing our pledges for the different boot camps, which basically just says, I'm interested in being in this upcoming boot camp. We have a macro that you can access that at any time by typing !bootcamp into the chat. And all the links are in the chat right now. So feel free to just sign up your name, add your email, and you will get instant access to those member-exclusive chat channels, and you will become a boot camper, one of the our members that are intending to finish a complete script within the runtime of a boot camp. And usually we encourage everybody to try to finish project after project, chain them together. You don't need to spend too long revising your editing if you're just trying to find your footing and really get those scripts down. So it's important that you just be writing and finishing and moving on to the next one. And the boot camps are designed to help you do that.
Bring your boots.
Bring your boots.
Make them shiny.
Yeah. No boot polish will be provided. You will have to bring your own. We do have a couple boot camps running at any given time. Currently, the sessions are oriented around the genre themes of post-apocalyptic dystopian on Fridays for pilot boot camp. And then this current session is action horror, and this is running Sundays from 11 to 1. Novel Bootcamp does not have a genre theme, and that runs for 12 weeks, and currently that is going into week 9, so that's getting pretty close to the end. All of the bootcamps are wrapping up by the end of the year. Excuse me. And the Novel Bootcamp is running Saturdays from 12 to 2. All of these times are in Pacific time. Multiple writers' labs a week as well, script swaps, readings, lots of other events for members and non-members, but we hope everyone signs up. You can sign up now by just typing your name in one of those sign-up sheets in the chat, or you can enroll for membership at our website, skillca.mp. There it is.
Yeah. Just if you go to this link, I'll post the link in the chat. It's a Google Doc, and you just write your name and the project name.
Thanks, Nacho. For anyone who doesn't know, my name's Connor. I run the boot camps and labs, and Nacho is my co-founder who runs a lot of events as well. So we'll start today with check-ins. You can tell us what you're working on, what your progress is, and what you've been reading lately. We will go back into just like quick recap on Sketchbook and Logline. We won't spend more than a minute on it, just kind of like laying out the essentials of what to create if you haven't already made that, if you're not already working in a sketchbook. We'll look at blockbuster moments, but most of today will be plotting practice. So we will be looking at how to go from just an idea. Like I have a couple of them as examples today. One of them is just Shark Man, a man who's a shark. It's like Wolfman, but he's a shark. It's a were shark, perhaps. I've never seen a were shark movie, but I want to. So we're going to think today of what would that kind of look like? How do we connect the dots from A to B? And we'll start with premise scenes and just think of the awesome stuff that could be in the movie, and then start with a character and begin to connect the dots in order to craft that entire journey. So we have a few options for that today, but that sort of plotting practice is the absolute best kind of work you can be doing just to find your feet in screenwriting and get the basics down and make sure that you're understanding and applying your understanding of structure. Just come up with a lot of stories. You don't even have to care about them. It's better if you don't. You're stemming your progress if you are only trying to write passion projects or things that you've been working on since you were a kid. I recommend when you're in this phase of just trying to improve, it's like running laps of the gym. Just every story idea you should be able to detach from to some extent and say, I'm just trying to finish this and move on to the next one and apply what I learned again and get better and better that way. So don't get too attached to any one script idea. And then, so we will also have the time to share your outlines if you have an early version of your outline for your movie today that you wanted feedback on. Maybe you have some story beats, but not all of them, or some early outlining, pre-writing type of documents that we can look at for feedback if you want. And we'll wrap up with questions on that. Okay. Hope that sounds good. And thank you for everyone joining us. We've got some new faces here as well. The way we usually do this is we start at the top of the list just of the Discord names, and we're just going to go down that list. So we will start at the top, and we're going to ask, what are you working on? How is your progress? Any issues or things you want to ask? And anything you're reading that you want to share? All right, let's start with Luciano.
Yeah, I'm new to this, but Hello,
I'm
we're here together.
writing
We're
on.
just we're just finding out what is going on here. We would yeah, it would
Okay.
be a little bit more comfortable if you're like somewhere down the line. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Are you guys like in the same house or something? Why did what? I thought we were hearing from Luciano. Luciano, do you want to start? Go ahead.
Uh, yeah, I agree with what he's saying. Like, we're kind of cold turkey came into here,
Oh, okay.
And yes, we're working
and
together.
You're working together. Okay, got it. That makes sense. Thank you. Okay, I can just come back to you if you want, or you can chime in the chat if you'd like, if that's easier for you. Let's go to Lou.
Hello. So I'm working on my political thriller, true crime kind of story. Takes place in Nebraska in 1989. Progress. I have my beat sheet for today. I want to get it looked at just to make sure I'm doing the right thing. It's kind of sparse, but I I don't know how detailed it should have been, so we'll look at that. Um, Working on my scene cards now. The issue is the length. The issue is getting into screenwriting for the first time in a long time and trying to get my scenes to like 2.5 pages max. Um, just try to put myself in the mind of a screenwriter. So I'm reading reading Save the Cat right now about screenwriting. I read Sid Field's book, but actual screenplays, I'm reading JFK, I'm reading Fargo, um, and just trying to get a feel for how how it's done well. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yep. The reading is super important. It's one of the most important things you can be doing at this stage. And yeah, glad to look at your story beats during the review today if you want.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Megan, go ahead. Okay, we'll hear from Nacho.
Um, yeah, not currently working on a feature. Uh, I did reread Bubbles, which is a great spec script about Michael Jackson's chimpanzee named Bubbles. Phenomenal, really funny, and really well written. We're going to be discussing it next Wednesday in Script Spotlight.
Great. All right. Thank you for that. Niku, any project you're working on? Okay, too spooky.
Hello, hello.
Hi. What's your project and how's your progress?
We are currently writing a movie, a script. We are progressing through a couple of scenes. We've encountered some problems, as any project does, and we've been studying scripts for past month too. For example, Shining, Body Double. Those are the recent ones.
Okay, you said just for a month or two, so you're brand new at this. You're just starting, just getting your feet wet now. Is that right?
We have some experience behind us, but in here, like I meant this server. This is
Oh,
the
okay,
first time we're here. We're just feeling out,
got it.
trying to look for some. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Vicky, do you want to tell us about your project and what's your progress?
For now, I'm in the middle of outlining, but I am not 100% sure if I'm gonna be able to keep up the same way. But until now, I've been making progress slowly, but I've been going forward. It is kind of like supernatural but I'm not 100% sure it is action horror yet. I am still figuring it out though.
Okay, is there some issue or problem that you're running into? Okay, I can check back in with you later if you need, if you're not able to talk right now.
Yeah, right now I'm doing some stuff, but then I can come back.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Vicky. All right. So we're going to just jump in. Thank you to everyone who told us about your projects. The goal of these boot camps is always to get you to the next stage, no matter what stage you're on. Ideally, you're following the milestones of the course, but even if not, you can still drop into any of these classes and try to move ahead to that next step. The steps are pretty regimented if you follow them in order. We begin with your sketchbook and just premise. We move ahead into logline. From there, do I have a slide on that? Yeah, here we go. Then on week 2, we go into story beats. Story beats are going to be your broadest possible outline. That doesn't have to include every single scene, but it's going to include most of them, as well as structural headings that tell us what is the purpose and function of each part of the story. From there, we expand into scene cards, which is going to be a full paragraph for every scene in the script, as well as allocating the pages that it will take place on. And then last week's 4 to 8, you will go to pages. So meaning 2 weeks from today, that is the milestone for when you actually need to get that screenwriting software if you've not already done so, and start writing scenes, dialogue, blocking, everything else that just goes into the script. But the first 4 weeks are all planning. We're doing a lot of pre-writing and making sure that we have the whole movie worked out before we even sit down to write a single line of dialogue. Okay, so log lines, if you don't have yours already, basically looks like when or after inciting incident, an adjective protagonist must conflict before stakes. It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but those are the essential questions that you're trying to answer. And they give us the sense of who is the movie about, what is the journey that the character's on, what is standing in the way, what unique or interesting limitations or tactics do they face, and basically clarifies what is the hook. A movie idea coming together sort of requires a character, a hook, and a journey. That journey is sort of the first way to communicate that journey, and the simplest expression of it is in the log line. So what you're doing is sort of explicitly telling us what is going on an external level and implying a character arc in that same sentence. Did I hear somebody ask or unmute their mic and want to ask a question? Maybe I misheard. Oh, I guess I misheard. Maybe someone was just coughing. Okay, so things that can make for a great hook, a sense of irony, some sort of different POV than we've seen before. Some, in terms of horror, especially when the hook is the threat, then some variation on that threat. What have we got? Like flying werewolves? Like what do we got? Ghosts with guns. We got, aliens that possess people. Like try to find some specificity to your threat, your monster, or the problem that your characters are dealing with. That can be a good place to start. In terms of action, the hook is often coming a little more in terms of the character's tactics, and like the way that they will be combating the threat. So in combining those things together, you have to be thinking, who is my character, and in what way are they either competent, or are they sort of someone that becomes competent by the end of the story? Because action requires your characters to either do one or the other, or else they just wouldn't survive the movie. So you can start with just a normal person, but in order to really be able to combat the threat and like fulfill those genre promises, they need to have the ability to gain competence and abilities and allies by the end and take the fight to the enemy. That's the difference between action horror and what we'd call standard horror, is that action is all about bringing the fight to the threat. And we can actually fight the bad guys. We could even win. We may not win very cleanly or perfectly. Not everybody might make it. Some of us might get turned into vampires along the way, but the characters can perhaps win. And that's what we're rooting for. We want the heroes to beat the monsters and win, for the most part. Okay, so this week we're on story beats. In order to start working those out, it's helpful to have a sketchbook. So a sketchbook just being a blank Google document that you just need to start making a list of all your ideas in. Unsorted, it's a collage of all of your unsorted ideas, whether it's ideas for lines of dialogue or characters. It could be pictures or links to articles or videos or something for your setting or world building, rules of the world, research materials, anything at all can go into the sketchbook, including those early versions of those story beats. There's no real template for that. You don't need a template for a sketchbook. The only real things that I would recommend including every time would be your title, genre, logline, and comps, which you can just put at the very top, and anything else is entirely your choice. No real right or wrong way to do that. Ultimately, we are trying to carve out from the premise. So we're starting with this idea of what would the poster of this look like? We're not starting from the perspective usually of a character. We're not starting from the perspective of a setting or world building. Those are a little bit more novelistic techniques towards coming up with premises. When you're writing Hollywood-style feature movies, often the best idea is to start from that perspective of premise. Like, what does the overall package of this look like? How would I pitch this to somebody in one sentence? What is the this meets that quality of this that clarifies what this was about and who this would be for? And so when you're working in the sketchbook, you can write down notes as to how your premise would work and what the movie is, but ultimately the logline is kind of the codified written expression of that premise. We have a slide just after this called To Kill a Monster, which is an activity. So I will be looking for a volunteer asking, how do we defeat these various monsters? How many variations can you think of? And would it make a good antagonist for an action horror movie? So be looking for a volunteer in just one slide. So be ready for that. Let's start with character and talk about how this ties into premise. So once you have the idea of basically what's happening in the movie, we know this is going to be about a building that is being slowly flooded and filled with deadly piranhas. Okay, then you have to start to ask who would be the best character to go through that journey. Who would have a particular difficulty with that or some interesting way of addressing that problem? Who would be a character that might be extremely suited to that or extremely unsuited to that? That's the kind of irony that can really make a premise pop, is the fact that it's not just about a guy. It's not just like when his building gets flooded by piranhas, this guy has to stop it because he doesn't want to get eaten by piranhas. But it's more like when his pet piranha that he, rescued and raised from its infancy at the nuclear breeding or whatever, the nuclear power plant, escapes into the wild and breeds. Now he has that personal investment in that stake, and he's got to go rescue his pet, which has grown to enormous size and become the queen of the carnivorous piranha monsters, right? So look for more of why is it about this character? It's not just a random person who happens to be involved. Usually, sometimes that can kind of work in certain horror setups where the character just happens to run off the road in the wrong part of the woods and they just happen to crash into a cult ritual that is going on or something like that, right? But a lot of the time, the best drama that you're going to get is going to come from connecting the character to the situation and looking for those personal investments and stakes that are more than just are they going to survive, or else you're going to run into this problem I call shark movie syndrome. We love shark movies, but the shark movie syndrome is a logline that seems so self-evident and simple that it just doesn't feel like the character has been wedded with that situation in the way that you want it to be. The example being when she gets attacked by a shark, a swimmer must escape the shark or else be eaten by the shark. It's like you didn't give us much there. You gave us like the very basics of the situation, but we're looking for a little more irony, a little more character, a little more personal investment. So be thinking of what could that be? How could I tie my character to the situation, either thematically, emotionally? Like it could just be that your character has, like, think of the movie Midsummer, for instance. It's a horror movie where the character opens the movie experiencing a terrible tragedy and then happens to get involved in this cult sacrifice thing that has really no plot connection to the beginning, but it sort of is like an emotional answer to her problem, right? It's like joining this cult and getting involved in this is sort of like it completes her character arc that was started with an unrelated tragedy. So you can always connect your character to the situation in those emotional terms. It's not like they have to always have some personal connection to the monster or the thing that's going on, but the situation can dramatically answer their internal needs. Hope that makes sense. The Ritual is another English horror movie that has a similar premise where it's just like backpackers end up in the woods in the wrong part of the world and they get attacked by cultists and there's a giant monster. They don't have any personal connection to what's going on, but the situation does sort of dramatically tie back to the main character's core wound and backstory and the fact that he feels a lot of stress and trauma regarding this incident in a robbery where he sort of failed to step forward and stop a clerk from getting shot. Like, emotionally, the story does answer his internal needs and create that interesting arc, despite the fact that he didn't create the monster and he's not from rural Sweden. So you don't need that actual personal investment to get your character, or you don't need like a direct personal investment to find a way to weave your character into that situation more carefully. Hope that makes sense. Any questions on connecting character to the situation? And everyone can either unmute or type out loud. Hi, Holloway. Thanks for joining. This is on phone, so I might get disconnected. Hope you don't get disconnected, but if so, you can always rejoin on a different device. Okay, let's get a volunteer. Who wants to tell us how to defeat these various monsters? We've got demon, killer robots, and gray aliens.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right. So there's more than one answer to these things, but what comes to mind when you hear, how do we kill a demon?
How do we kill a demon? Like in a conventional way?
Whatever comes to mind. Yeah, every culture has their own versions of this. So just, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
With an exorcism.
Okay. Exorcism, usually if the demon has possessed a person, right?
Right.
Although sometimes demons do behave a little more like ghosts in certain cultural traditions. So, like, this place could be haunted by a demon. There's a lot of crossover between demonic demons and ghosts, especially because a lot of demons are considered spirits, like demonic spirits, which behave a lot like ghosts. So there's sometimes you can't even tell. Sometimes you start a story thinking it's one, turns out it's the other. So, but yeah, if a demon has possessed a person, usually we consider an exorcism is the best way to not necessarily kill the demon, but to get it out of the person. What else comes to mind?
Getting some ritual book and doing a ritual to you you could like paint a pentagram on the floor and 5 people stand at different ends of the pentagram and do the spell to expel the demon.
Sure.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, it's sort of more of an occult approach as opposed to the Judeo-Christian approach, where demonologists might have their own method for banishing or killing demons, where you have to trap it in a pentagram or draw a chalk circle around it, or basically follow special rules. It sounds like from the lore that you're most familiar with, the way to kill demons is not just shoot them. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So demons are kind of complicated and special, right? Because there's so many different types of rule sets. They can kind of follow whatever rules you want. Often we have a kind of cultural expectation of like a baseline of how they behave, just because like between different Abrahamic religions, there are different conceptions of demons. And also in many worldwide religions, there are what are sometimes referred to as demons. There's demons in Buddhism, right? There's demons in Hinduism. There's every religion, pretty much, most religions have their own version of basically like evil entities. So within different cultures, I think we could also see like let's just think, for instance, in terms of symbols or wards. What would they use in a Judeo-Christian context to harm demons or drive them out?
Like a crucifix.
Sure.
Silver or salt.
Silver and salt, great. Yep, this comes from folklore. Anything else?
Holy water.
Holy water, that's a good one. You can do a lot with holy water in a story. I wrote a vampire movie once where at the end there's a bunch of vampires having a pool party and somebody puts holy water in the filter and it makes them all melt. You can have fun with holy water. Lost Boys does a lot of good stuff. Like holy water in the squirt gun. When I was a kid, I always wondered why more people don't do that. That makes so much sense, right? Super soaker full of holy water. Now you're like a demon killing warrior. Awesome. All right. What else do we want to say on demons? Would it make a good antagonist for an action horror movie?
Would a demon be a good antagonist?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be pretty interesting. Explore someone who's just plain evil, which I guess a demon is, or I don't know, maybe from the demon's perspective. I'm not sure if anyone's made that before, where something like, the action horror version of Paradise Lost, where we kind of get the perspective of Satan and something like that. That could be interesting. So I guess you can go both ways with it. Just make them just plain evil or try to make them more complicated.
Sure, sure. Also, I guess the tricky thing is if your demon is a purely intangible spirit, it's hard to have an action scene against that unless it possesses somebody. So like I could easily see a version where your main character gets possessed by a demon that gives him incredible fighting skills or something like that. That could be a cool take on it. Or like, that sort of Venom thing where you have a sort of inhabitant that is a parasite that is controlling or manipulating the person. Those could work well in an action context. Demons also sort of abide by the inverse ninja law. Do you know this trope, Lou?
No, what is that?
Inverse ninja law is this idea that if on in a story, if there's only one ninja, they are like an unstoppable badass. They're like we play up the mystique around them, and they're so cool, and they can beat any enemy. They're like the toughest enemy in the whole story. But if there's a lot of ninjas, then we take them out like it's nothing. It's like Jackie Chan punches 10 ninjas in a minute, right? So demons are kind of like that. If you have a lot of demons, then they're usually considered a bit weaker, and we can sort of just mow them down with a gun. Whereas the more powerful demons are sort of those more intangible puppet master control type ones that, exist in the distance and are pulling the strings rather than getting directly involved in the gunfights. Constantine is a movie that really does a lot with demons and angels. Okay, how about killer robots? What do you think?
Um, Electromagnetic pulse,
There you go.
know, some type of wave of or kill the main computer, putting them out, do uh bring the Skynet, bring the bombs and destroy it at its source.
Yeah,
Um,
the mainframe.
the mainframe.
That could do it.
How else? Get them to change their programming and make them kill each other or something.
Okay, hack them.
Hack into
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Put them on our side. Those are good ideas.
Yeah.
Anything else? I think it's hard to shoot them, but usually we can sometimes destroy them in other ways, right? Like how would we physically destroy it?
How would we physically? Um, I guess they might be waterproof, but besides shooting it, I don't know, just an axe or something.
Maybe an axe.
Uh, uh,
Pretty tough.
drive over them.
Yeah, you really have to smash them, crash them. Like in Terminator, they end up. Do you remember how the Terminator movies end?
Oh, with the compressor and the liquid nitrogen or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we basically have to either crush them completely or melt them down in or freezing can work too, like the liquid nitrogen. That doesn't end up actually taking out the Terminator, but at the end they melt them down in that like big puddle of liquid iron or whatever, right? So yeah,
Right.
melting them can work well. Would it make a good antagonist for an action horror? What do you think? Killer robots. I guess I just kind of answered that to some extent, but what do you think?
Well, the Terminator is one of my favorites. But that's the inverted ninja thing again, where when it's one Terminator, it's really dangerous. But I just see these Boston Dynamic dogs here, and I just see a protagonist just like mowing down 50 of them. So, um, and we see this a lot, I think, killer robots. But I guess now with like AI, you could do some spin on it. Something interesting with that nowadays could be pretty interesting concept.
Definitely.
So yeah, they're pretty good.
We also see a lot done with the killer robots that look like humans, so the sort of Cylon thing. And plenty of opportunities in action horror for that. Your character has cyborg parts or cyborg enhancements or all that cyberpunk Blade Runner kind of stuff. It can work great.
Hmm.
All right, last one. Alien Greys.
Um, what's the first question? How do we kill them?
Yeah, any ideas?
Let's think.
Bacteria.
What? Yeah,
Okay,
bacteria.
that's the classic answer.
Glass of water.
Yeah.
Um,
Are they
Oh.
Wicked Witch of the West kind of thing?
In songs they are. Or what is it in Mars Attacks?
Yeah.
Don't they play a really loud song, an opera song that makes all their heads explode?
Yeah, some like yodeling country song. I love that movie. Yeah, I guess just like the robot dogs and the robot the robots, something that's gonna, if there's a lot of them, you need something that's gonna get them all at once. Um, you know, you have Independence Day.
Right.
They kind of have like a computer virus to the mainframe. Um,
I think with Greys also, or with this type, all the aliens that are sort of in this area, we usually think that the creatures themselves are kind of weak and frail, whereas their technology is the impervious, impenetrable armor and force fields and things like that, right? So I think another way to beat them is you have to get on their ship. I think they do that. They do that in Independence Day. They have to, they fly one of their own crafts through their shields.
that's
There's a
right.
really good script from the Blacklist from a couple of years ago called Below, and it's where it's like this guy is like a bounty hunter, sort of like Men in Black, like he's hunting down aliens who live in the sewers under LA. And the only way he can kill them is like he has these shotgun shells that have like some kind of weird alien energy in the shotgun shell. So he's like shooting shotgun blasts with like this weird energy that like kills the alien, just totally like melts them like cotton candy or something. Pretty
Ooh,
cool.
alien bullets. That sounds like a good
Mhm.
if you play the XCOM games, they have a lot of stuff like this as well. So pretty cool.
Mm.
Another thing to consider about Graves is that they're often portrayed as psychic. So or at least partially psychic, or have some ability to wirelessly interface with technology. And sometimes they can even do more like mind control people or possess, like send people messages through their minds. And that's why you see all those conspiracy theorists from the 70s and 60s wearing those tinfoil hats and stuff. So something to consider. You might be able to use a psychic against them as well, like reverse their own psychic attacks somehow. Do aliens make for good antagonists for action horror movies? What do you think, Lou?
Yeah, I think I think it's pretty cool.
I think they're some of the best ones for sure.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I like those movies. I like War of the Worlds. I guess I like Independence Day. Uh, Aliens can be pretty scary, you know.
Sure.
The idea of if they're out there is pretty creepy, but in action horror they definitely would be there. So,
And you can do a lot with them too. They can look like whatever you want. They can have whatever abilities you want. They can be as scary or as friendly as you want. We can root for them or root against them pretty easily. So yeah, you can do a lot with aliens.
mhm.
Thank you for volunteering.
Mhm.
Let's start thinking on. Oh wait, let me just open the floor for a quick second. Did anybody who didn't speak up want to share any last ideas on either how to like variants on fighting these monsters that you've seen before that you think you would that are relevant for the class? Any ideas?
What about the Hong Kong fighting tactics when considering the robots, like anti-facial recognition makeup, umbrella phalanxes,
Yeah, great idea.
extinguisher warfare?
Those are
I
really
I
interesting.
love the idea of martial arts versus robots. That sounds really cool and like, insane.
I think he may have meant Hong Kong style not in terms of martial arts, but in terms of the way that Hong Kong processors avoided facial
Yeah, I meant
recognition.
the Hong Kong Revolution.
Oh,
Yeah, I
But
meant
you could
the
my
also be
bad.
just
with Kung Fu. That would be too. Hong Kong style tactics take many forms, don't they? uh, but yeah, either way, the all the ways that in modern totalitarian states and movements and things like this, people have had to avoid recognition of your face, voice, and gait. Gait is actually a huge one. The way that you walk can be picked up by cameras, and like there's different ways to fool it. Some people wear. There was even like types of COVID masks that had like facial, like almost camouflage patterns across them that were intended to disrupt facial tech recognition and things like that. So yeah, in fighting a robot enemy in a modern story, we'd want to see characters have to apply all those tactics in a way that would sort of separate this from killer robot movies from the 80s, right? Because we didn't really have these same ideas of how mass surveillance would be working and stuff like this. So you'd have to sort of update the idea of killer robots to make them work like a little more how they would work today. Good thoughts there. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we're thinking of blockbuster moments, which is especially when we're talking about what's the monster and how do we kill it. that moment where your character has to research the way to defeat the monster and then finally turns the tables on them. That's sort of a free blockbuster moment. Excuse me. Don't drink seltzer water before class, guys. So we have a good opportunity at the start of a script to just go crazy and come up with a bunch of scenes that could only happen in your premise and that take full advantage of your premise. So be thinking, for instance, what would be a uniquely scary moment that this monster could take advantage of? What's like a method or a tactic or some like way that it could threaten or harass our main cast? What would be those scare sequences? What would be the action sequences? And how do we transition sort of from one to the other? You know, action horror being usually about characters that are either competent from the beginning or they become more competent by the end. You have to factor that dynamic shift into your sense of blockbuster moments. Like thinking of when does this character become competent and what does that look like? That's like a free blockbuster moment. Easy. When they defeat the monster at the end, if that is in fact in the cards for them, that's a free blockbuster moment, right? Because we're going to have to do some impressive tactics to pull that off, especially if it is in payoff of an early setup, which almost always it should be. Considering this moment from the Host, the Bong Joon-ho movie. It's called The Host because it is like a fish monster that kidnaps a little girl and it acts as her host, so to speak, and like keeps her in its den in the sewer. And the family, it's like Little Miss Sunshine meets I was gonna say Godzilla. It's not quite that big. It's like Little Miss Sunshine as a monster movie, basically. This broken family has to come together to go rescue the girl from this monster's lair and get her back. And the mom is an Olympic archer, so that is planted pretty early on. And guess what? By the end, when we finally find the moment to save the girl and free the monster, it's this awesome thing where she has to shoot a flaming arrow in slow motion, and it's paying off this early setup. It's a moment that could only have happened because of the family coming together and everyone leveraging and utilizing their unique skills. So that moment where we turn the tables and defeat the monster becomes just an easy moment to put on the plotting board right away. So we're usually starting from the perspective of not the beginning of the movie. We're starting from what would the awesome premise scenes be? What are those awesome moments? What would a great finale be? Where would this probably go? So we're filling out the middle and the end of your plot before you even know who the character is, because that's sort of how you can test if a premise is viable or if it's working. If you are able to come up with a lot of really good premise scenes for it, that you like can't stop coming up with great scenes, you can't fit them all in, then that's probably a sign that there's a strong premise there. Whereas if you're not quite sure what the premise scenes would be, or you can only come up with a few, then something might be off, and you may need to swap to a different one or find something to reinvigorate the idea. It is probably the central relationship. I'll just give you the clue there. So be thinking early on of these awesome moments from the middle of the movie that will leave the audience breathless and cheering, or whatever emotional experience you're trying to deliver, even if you're not writing action horror. Be thinking of what are those emotional moments I'm building to, and how will they make the audience feel? Coming up with ideas for those, even regardless of any other factor. You don't need a character. You don't need a structure. At the very beginning of the process, just think of awesome moments. Okay. We are going to do some plotting practice. I hope this works. And I hope that at least one or two people want to do this. This is some of the most essential work you can do to improve at screenwriting. So we're going to start by choosing a premise. And we're going to start by just thinking of some of those scenes from the middle, right? What does just looking at the poster or just thinking of the idea, what does it suggest in terms of the core thrills and promises of the movie? We have 3 potential premises that we can work on. My suggestions are Sharkman, Wolfman/werewolf rules, but he's a shark. The Demon of Nottingham, it's a horror take on Robin Hood. But is the demon Robin Hood or is it the sheriff? I don't know. Is it like the vampire sheriff that Robin needs to defeat, or is Robin the monster? He steals the rich and feeds them to the poor? I don't know. You think of it. And then our last one is Rambo meets the Exorcist. I don't know, like a guy possessed by the spirit of a soldier that makes him into a sort of super soldier as well and wants to complete one last mission? Maybe that's what comes to mind for me. I don't know yet. Okay, we will need someone to speak up and say that they want to take a try. Who wants to volunteer?
So do I get it right that we should brainstorm these ideas on spot here?
Yeah, which one do you like?
What was the middle one again?
Demon of Nottingham.
Oh, that kind of sparked my imagination. What if Robin Hood gets caught on the start, unexpected? Like, of course, you're not expecting the main character to die on the start, but what if he does? And is the demon or a ghost throughout the story?
Ooh,
Okay.
like Robin Hood comes back as a demon. I love that.
Robin Hood as like a revenant avenger spirit kind of
That's
thing.
amazing.
All right, that's cool. What else you guys got? Let's hear more just like premise scene ideas, finale ideas, awesome scene sequences or moments that you can envision.
I'm not really into the animal stuff, but the third one that was Rambo meets the Exorcist. What if Rambo is the Exorcist? You don't literally expect the buff guy with a gun to be spiritual.
That's a great idea.
Mm.
Let's stick with one idea at a time, but I'll
Mhm.
write that down as well. We can pick one, whichever of these you want to do. So
Oh,
let's
I'm sorry
say
for jumping like that. I just
no, no,
as you said it, it just appeared in my mind.
no, that's a great idea. Rambo is the Exorcist. I would check out the show 30 Points if you haven't seen it yet, which features a sort of exorcist with dual Berettas, kind of like exorcising demons and shooting bad guys for the Lord. It's pretty cool. All right. So, and also, I just put the picture because I just liked the image of it. You don't have to be thinking of this as a cartoon with animal people. This can be whatever you want. Okay. So let's focus on what? Shall we do Demon of Nottingham or Exorcists? Anybody at all?
I think if we're doing the Demon of Nottingham, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if we're doing the Demon of Nottingham, you could have it be like, was it Friar Tuck? That's just like gotta put together people to like bring Robin Hood back to doing his thing. And maybe you can like have it so that like the way to do that is you have like a quest to turn some kind of stolen artifact that turned Robin Hood into the demon.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you just recap what you said in just like a sentence? I was having trouble following.
So like you could say that the reason that he's a demon is he stole something, like some kind of artifact that turned him into that.
Oh, okay.
And then
So
Friar Tuck,
he's
like
the-
assist and
got it.
trying to, yeah.
Oh, so Friar Tuck becomes the Exorcist.
Yeah.
Friar Tuck must be the one to sort of break the curse on his friend in this version, I suppose.
or
Yeah.
send him to his final rest, because he's
Yeah.
a revenant.
Yeah.
True. Take him down. That could work. So these are good ideas for. I guess it's nice that you guys are coming up with like the premise to begin with, which is awesome. That's sort of overall what we're trying to do. It's also fine to just think of awesome moments or scenes. So like, what would just a cool what would just be a scene that comes to mind here?
Oh, like Friar Tuck at the end, like stabbing him with something to be like, that's for your poor soul or something.
Okay.
Robin Hood,
So,
um, killing a bunch of knights with his arrows, and then he does like, a backflip and like ceiling spider crawl because he's a demon or something.
awesome.
Like,
Yes, thank you. Does a spider
like a sort of like The Professional, where he's like Leon is kind of like hiding as the SWAT team's like trying to go in, but this is like medieval, so it's like, the SWAT team would be like knights or something trying to take him out.
Sure. Great idea.
Because he's got to still use arrows, because that's what you think of Robin Hood, right?
Yeah.
He's sort of like a zombie Robin Hood, I guess,
Sure.
or a demonic revenant hood.
There you go. All right, so we've got, of course, the first, it would be a free premise scene the first time he fully unleashes his demon powers, right? And then we would definitely seize the shock and surprise as all these characters are like, I underestimated you. I thought the legends of you, being some supernatural creature, that was all just folklore. But then they see, I guess, maybe it was more true than they thought. Of course, this would also, I think this version of Robin Hood is almost like a campfire story that they would like the knights would tell about him, right? Like, go ahead.
Maybe his saliva is like, putrefying, like some kind of evil demonic, disease thing, so like he just like spits on his arrows, and then they all like like their arms start falling off when they get hit or something. Or like Evil Dead, like the when they get the pencil in the leg,
Oh yeah. So if
And
he hits you
that
with one of his corrupting arrows and you don't die, the infection you get
yeah,
might turn you into a demon.
yeah, exactly.
Great idea. This sounds a bit like some Army of Darkness spinoff or something like that, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Arrow injuries possess people. Okay, great ideas there.
Does he still rob? I mean, does he still steal things? Like, what is his, as a demon, like,
Does he steal souls?
is he?
He steals the souls of the poor and gives to the rich.
There you go. Okay. So you're saying he's now pursuing the opposite of his original goal, and he's targeting the poor instead? Good work.
Yeah.
I think you'll lose people though. Like they won't root for him anymore. You'll have to have a different protagonist.
Okay, it's okay. It's just a slightly different take.
Yeah.
In this version,
Hmm.
he would be the threat of the story. And there's another version where he
Right.
sort of is using these demonic powers to take the fight against those, as almost like what we were talking about Revenants, right? Like the movie The Revenant, where he's getting revenge on those that wronged him. Go ahead.
Yeah, doesn't Robin Hood also take place during the Crusades? So there's like a whole like all these, battles in Jerusalem and stuff. So you kind of like link to that for the finale somehow.
I'm not sure if it takes place during the Crusades or what the
Yeah, like
year.
the reason that the king was
there is
delayed,
a
like the
connection
real
there.
king was at the crusade, right?
Oh, okay. Good to know. You always have that exorcist connection of, somebody brings back the wrong relic from the Holy Land kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Oh, the King Richard the Lionheart led the Third Crusade, so he's
Got
actually the leader of the crusade.
Okay. Maybe he's the hero. He comes back and his hometown has been sort of like ravaged by this demonic spirit. And now he's like, I've just become a warrior for God, and now I need to prove it. Now that I'm back, I need to everyone's looking to me to fix this. Could be a good take. All right, thanks for these ideas so far. Let's do one more and just, again, come up with ideas, and then we'll see if we can shape one of them into a plot. It doesn't have to be amazing or even any good, and that's part of the fun here a lot of the time, is that you can pick something dumb and commit to it. Any other ideas for Rambo meets The Exorcist? Sort of premise scenes, especially? Awesome moments?
How about a holy water machine gun somehow? I don't know
There
how
we
that.
go. Are they ice bullets or something like that? Or like
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Like ice, holy ice.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Holy water make it into a dagger.
Wow.
Or at least the head of an arrow,
Needs some
right?
good mhm. Needs a good AC in his Hummer.
Definitely.
I'm imagining he like opens a portal to hell, like, and demons are like coming after him, but then he like flies a plane into it or something. It just kills all the demons waiting for him.
Great. Okay.
And then he just walks away like without looking back.
Yeah, no explosion. Just cool guys go look at explosions.
You messed with the wrong guy today, Satan. All right, so yeah, I guess the way that it's shaping up just with the ideas on the board so far, it sounds like you're doing like action exorcist who addresses demonic threats by blowing them up, which there's a well-worn tradition of this sort of pulp character. We in action horror we often follow monster hunters or characters that somehow become monster hunters willingly or otherwise. Anything else comes to mind?
Is he actually a priest?
Okay, good question. What do you think?
If that makes it more interesting, I think. Imagine a priest that's like with, who's he's not only like he was a chaplain in the Green Berets or something like that, or
Make him like
the
a
Navy's.
conscientious objector, and then like he saw everybody killed, and so now fight demons, and so he's like, I can fight that because like that's a war, that's God's war. So
Okay, yeah, I will never kill a man, but this is no man. That's the thinking.
yeah,
Good
They're the
idea.
disease. I'm the cure.
All right.
I'm
That's the idea. All right, let's do two more, just like scene ideas. Awesome blockbuster moments.
he's got to have at least one scene where he's like underwater, you know, like using his Green Beret survival techniques against the demons. You know, maybe the demons have taken over this town in Vietnam or something or whatever. But he's got to like, you know, because that's a whole part of Rambo is like he's survival, right? He could be like out in the jungle alone for like 6 months and he lives on, you know, eating frogs or something, you know. So he's kind of like comes out where you least expect and he's all like, you know, covered in mud and stuff. And then he's,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
maybe
he
even you
has to
think
go.
he's the demon. Mhm.
He has to go on like a Blair Witch hunt where he's using his survival techniques. That's right. And that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Okay,
And then
great.
just with a knife, he's like slits the demon's throat, but it's like a whole, you know, it's like a holy knife or something.
Okay, so sort of sounds like if you want to just build up a Rambo type story, you've got a village maybe possessed by demonic forces, in which case he sort of would approach it the way that Rambo really would. Also, it occurs to me that demons
Yeah.
can't cross running water in some versions of the story, so you could get that great kind of, you know, sneaking under the river, breathing through the reed kind of sequence, but it's like the demons can't get him down there because it's running water. Could be cool.
Maybe in, you know, he fails and all this terrible stuff happens and he has to like team up with this Vietnamese like shamanic priest who has a totally different kind of exorcism, you know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah.
Like the wailing.
Let's team up with a local priest to learn to fight these demons in a different way, maybe than the ones he's used to, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or but like in a culturally specific way, I guess I mean to say.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Awesome ideas here. Thank you guys. So this plotting practice is really helpful to do, or like this style where you just start with awesome stuff and you worry about connecting it afterwards. It might seem sort of counterintuitive if you're just seeing this for the first time, but once you have a great understanding of structure, then all you need is a starting point to begin connecting the dots from A to B to build out an entire story. So I don't want to bore everyone to like have everyone zone out if I just leap into this right away. So I'll start with questions, and then we will try to build out one of these into a full plot. It will be fast and loose. Believe me, we won't be here all day. I can do it pretty fast, and it won't be great, but it will be a complete story. The purpose is just to show how to connect the dots and how to come up with a movie, not to get too micromanagey on any one point. So let's start with questions on anything we've talked about so far before we go into the next part of the exercise. Anyone want to ask about like blockbuster moments? Or something else? Okay, all good. So yeah, this is the plotting heavy class because we're right about to go into scene cards next week. So we're trying to get the essentials down of building out a storyline for a full feature and doing so in a quick and efficient way that capitalizes on the promise of your premise. So let's spend about 10 to 15, I'll try to cap it about 15 minutes on this. And then we will go into your guys' outlines. So if you have something that you want to share and get feedback on, I would be getting it ready during the next exercise and have it ready to share by the time we go to that segment. Okay, so we will start with, let's just make a new slide perhaps. All right. Reviewing our story beats, what do we have? Intro, catalysts, trying the locks, break into two, premise scenes, midpoint, escalation, all is lost, pit of despair, break into three, finale, epilogue. That's a movie. It's, you know, a certain number of beats. How many beats is that? 12, 13? 12, I think. Oh, that's too small. Let's do a little bigger there. So, and let's also do 2 columns, I guess. That would make this a little easier. We'll go up to midpoints on the left, and then we will expand it out on the right. So I'm not going to go into a full explanation of how every single structural beat works at the moment. If you've taken the other classes and been here either in this series or in the other boot camps, then you have heard all this before. The point is, break into 3, to showcase how to do this pretty quickly and how to build out a plot line. This would be easier if I had somebody to sort of work back and forth with. So does somebody want to take the volunteer position and help me brainstorm, and we'll treat this like your sort of script, but I'll be kind of just taking the reins and making choices as necessary to get us to the end. So does somebody want to volunteer to work on this with me?
Yeah, I'll help.
Okay, great. So did you like Robin Hood or Rambo better?
I like Rambo.
Okay.
That sounds pretty fun.
So let's review what we have on the board, and then you don't have to commit to or stick with any of this. This should just be a leaping off point. We are, at least the thoughts that we put up are, Rambo is the exorcist. In fact, it sounded a little like some folks were suggesting, like he's a chaplain in the Green Berets, maybe even in the Vietnam War, stumbles across the site of some sort of ritual, or maybe he sees a village be taken over by demons or something like this, and then needs to use his Rambo skills in order to liberate the village and save the day, something like that. We've got some ideas for scenes on the board there. Underwater survival, portal to hell, teaming up with a local priest. You don't have to pick any of these or use any of them, but anything else you just want to add, or anything else that leaps to mind before we go into more plotting?
I just kind of like the idea of the original Rambo, where he comes back from the war and he's like getting spit on and cast out and that. But if we want to do it in like Southeast Asia, that would be pretty cool too.
Up to you. So the tricky part of this is that we can't overthink it. We'll just have to kind of pick something and roll forward with it. So and before we start adding stuff on the board, let's just ask, what do you like better? Do you like the First Blood approach, or do you like the movie mostly taking more of an action story taking place in the theater of war?
It looks like most of our ideas were kind of about in the theater of war, so we can do that.
Okay, up to you. You do not have to stick with this, but now we have picked one, so let's stick with it now. So you've chosen
Okay.
Rambo is at war. It could be whatever war you want. It doesn't even have to be Vietnam. This was just the jumping off point. You could do a super soldier of any kind in any conflict. Okay. So what are you thinking? Do you want to stick with Vietnam or pick something else?
Um, I guess we can do Vietnam. It might be interesting.
Okay. Gives us a starting point grounded in reality, so we know kind of what the political situation is there. We don't have to spend too long explaining what's going on with the war. All right. So in this case, do you want to orient this more towards action or more towards horror?
I guess action
Great. Okay.
because it's a war movie.
All right. So that's going to give us some ideas as to what our premise scenes and what the finale are going to be. So anything that you want to add into premise scenes before we start connecting all the dots? Let's start with just, what do you think would be the center piece of the movie? You've picked an action-focused soldier exorcist story set in Vietnam. What would some of those central second act scenes be?
Battle scene, deer hunter scene where they're captured and have to play Russian roulette with each other. Um, the scenes where they have to travel somewhere and they're playing 60s music on the boat, like Apocalypse Now. Other Vietnam movies where they have to call in the napalm strike, big explosion. Uh,
Yes,
scene, Forrest, what?
I don't want
Forrest
to
Gump scene. No, yeah, Forrest Gump scene where someone dies. I guess that would be the all is lost or escalation scene where kind of the tragic loss scene of
Okay.
a
Sense of
mentor,
relationship.
best friend. Yeah.
Makes sense. We'll put that on the board. And something that you also might want to think is like, if especially because when we were talking about demons before, we were saying you have to find some special way to fight them. So it seems to me maybe you could even think of some of these Vietnam movie premise scenes played kind of straight. Like, all right, we know like the guns aren't working. We have to try the ultimate weapon, the napalm. And then it doesn't work. Like, you watch the demons are immune to fire or something like that, right? And we realize we have to sort of change our tactics from
Yeah.
traditional.
You have to get a priest to bless the napalm.
There you go. Good thinking.
There's also holy oil, which could relate to like chemical warfare in Vietnam.
True.
Holy
Maybe,
oil.
yeah, maybe we have to make like an Agent Orange, but with like a holy version of that or something like that.
Right.
Holy super weapon. That's kind of a cool idea.
Agent H.
I'm gonna move that to finale.
Agent H.
Because yeah, okay, sure, Agent H. Agent
Yeah.
JC for Jesus Christ. That would
Yeah.
All right. So we'll put that in the finale because I think maybe this, if we're working up to developing some kind of weapon that can defeat them, and if it's going to work, you would probably want to save that for the finale. You would probably want to save the conventional tactics for the first half of the story where we see that those aren't going to work, kind of like Predator.
Is he?
Okay.
Is the demon making him play Russian roulette?
Maybe. He makes him flip to a random page of the Bible, and he's like, if you land on a verse about someone's punishment, that's what happens to you.
The Book of Job. Damn it.
Yeah, if you land on a plague, then I give that plague to you. All right, some good ideas here. Shall we start connecting it? Yeah, let's just get into it. Let's do one beat at a time. We'll start with intro. So just let's go one step at once, building up to these premise scenes and building up to that finale. Imagining that the finale is we sort of create and deploy that chemical weapon to defeat all the demons, right? So we know how we're sort of wrapping things up. So let's start with the beginning. What would the normal sort of world of your character be? And how would we express that in those first 10 to 15 pages?
So I thought of like a hook is like how the North Vietnamese would like ambush them a lot, the Americans. It turns out the North Vietnamese have like super demons that can ambush them, and they got them from like the holy ruins. So there's just like an intro ambush scene, super demon ambush, and then we go to intro to the character, learning about it.
Okay. So you'd probably want to start with like a briefing wherein your character is sort of would you describe him as a normal soldier, or does he have some special role, some special responsibility? What is his rank or position, would you think?
I like the chaplain idea. That's pretty cool.
Okay, so we want to see what he does normally, I guess you would say. You're comforting soldiers that are wounded and dying and things like this. What else does the chaplain do?
Leads mass. I think of Catch-22, Anthony Perkins as the chaplain in that.
And if I remember correctly, the Exorcist, the central priest is having sort of a crisis of faith, or having his faith like challenged and tested in a way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So
what do you
how
think?
they introduce that?
Yeah,
He can have a crisis of faith.
Okay. And do you think that might just be because Vietnam is just a challenging, difficult war that there's no clear good guys, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, does God really want this to be happening? How am I supposed to be blessing these people before they go into battles that I don't even believe in? That sort of thing.
I like that. Yeah. That could work.
What are we doing here? How can I, this isn't how I'm supposed to be fighting, something like that. Maybe we get the sense that he's dissatisfied with his position here, and he sort of, feels they should be approaching this a different way, or maybe feels that he is practicing his faith in a way that is antithetical to who he wants to be. He's disillusioned. Hard not to be disillusioned in the Vietnam War, it felt like.
That's right.
All right, great. So what is the catalyst we're working up to? How are we going to get your character involved in the story with an event that he must respond to somehow?
So this should happen to him directly?
It doesn't have to happen to him directly. It's just something that requires a response from your character.
Okay. And even bigger ambush, or I don't know if that would work.
Okay, I'll just start making choices and you can adjust as necessary, or you can just shout out. And,
Okay.
I mean, we'll consider this to be your story ultimately. But it sounds like if you're saying that we have these demonic forces and maybe your opening scene could be them taking over the village, right? If you say that this ambush sequence, maybe that's them sort of establishing their base of operation, and this is where the enemy is going to be sort of like centralized now. So the catalyst could be your characters are out. He's on a mission with on a patrol with the guys, and they hear weird music and sound. They hear like chanting coming from an enemy base or something like, or the village, right? And or a village which they see has been fortified into sort of an enemy structure. Maybe it's not on any maps or any, it's not on any of their aerial photos or anything like that, right? So we're just like, what is this place? Who are they? What are they doing? Could just require investigation. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. It could also be that the North Vietnamese demons are kind of moving into South Vietnam. They take over like a city or something.
The whole city. Okay, that's a much bigger scale. How do you
Yeah.
think there's hundreds of them, or is there like a handful of them?
Of demons?
Right.
I guess there's lots. There's
It's a whole army.
the whole army of demons.
Okay.
Or maybe no. Maybe few. Maybe few.
We gotta
And
commit. We gotta pick something.
few. Because
Okay.
I want them to seem more powerful.
Okay. Inverse ninja rules and everything. And so in that case, what are they taking over? Is it a city? Is it a village? Is it a building? What do you think?
City.
Okay, but there's only a few demons take over an entire city. Are they using sort of like mass manipulation powers or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so the BC demons take over. Let's just say Ho Chi Minh City. Did I spell that right? Okay, I did first try. Okie doke. So it would seem like it was just the conventional enemy having done that. I would assume at first, like people, first assumption would probably not be demons have brain controlled people into turning over the keys to the city and standing down the military and stuff like this. But maybe they're like mass possessing soldiers or things like that. So in this case, your character now we need to move them into triangle locks, meaning we are now attempting to either take the first few steps towards solving that problem, or perhaps investigating the problem, gathering a team, underscoring the importance and difficulty of the upcoming journey. So, how do you think your character would be investigating and feeling out this problem before he commits to solving it?
So he knows something because he studied like demonology. He knows that what's happened here is demons taking over. I guess the general sends a platoon or whatever a larger platoon is called to go retake the city. The chaplain tries to stop him because he knows there's demons. But this might be more of a catalyst, but
No, you're doing good. So this is
all right.
actually a good idea for triangle locks to try the conventional ways of solving the problem. Call the cops. Get mom and dad to deal with it. Send in the army. How do we try to stop Godzilla in every movie? Tanks? It doesn't work. So we send a platoon against them. They get torn to shreds by the demons. Great triangle lock scene.
Okay. So the platoon goes in, and they get just wasted. They get ripped apart, horrible.
Ooh, you know what this sort of
And
almost starting to feel
so
like Escape from New York a little bit. Sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah. So they get destroyed. So the chaplain is now the only person the general can really trust to deal with this problem.
Okay. Is it that
So
do you think that it might make more sense if he sets out to solve the problem on his own to save more lives, kind of like 1917, or do you think it would be like the general realizes that he's right and employs him and utilizes his sort of priest skills? What do you think? Which is better?
yeah, like Apocalypse Now, he gives them the assignment that he has to go into the jungle to try to defeat the demons.
Great. Okay. So in that case, maybe we're trying to, like, if you're just sending in one person, you'd usually think that you'd have a specific objective for them. Like in Escape from New York, we're trying to rescue the president. So I think you probably want something like that. That's that simple and that easy to understand. It's like you need to go into the city and either destroy their power source, or we rescue somebody that is necessary for the war effort, or like you just give them something a lot more specific. So what do you think off the top of your head?
The president of South Vietnam
Okay.
at the time,
So they've
he
taken
gets
over the
kidnapped.
Great. Okay. We'll just do Escape from New York then. So the platoon is shredded, the city's taken over, and they've captured the president. So maybe that's even in the cold open, right? Right. Okay. They capture the president. All right. And now the general realizes that after he sees, the footage of the attack, he realizes this priest was right. You're the only one that can get in there and do what needs to be done now. And we're all looking to you, Father. We can't win this war without you. What do you say? One last mission. Maybe he used to be a soldier and now they're sending him back into the field, even though he swore never to take up a gun ever again. Not against a man, as we discussed during brainstorming. So now he's like, but
Right.
I swore I'd never kill a man again. Well, these aren't men, soldier. What do you say? I think your break into two would then be he accepts the mission. Despite his reservations and the fact that he's like, I haven't shot a gun in years. I swore I would never shed a man's blood ever again. Okay, and that's going to lead us into your second act. So now that you've taken the mission, we can go right into your premise scenes. You probably want to start with I'm sorry, my text is getting a little scaled off the page. That's okay. So it would make a lot of sense if your character starts in a place of safety, that your first premise scene would then have to be getting to the location of the enemy. So we'll probably put the traveling scene first, and then you're going to get your great, what is that song they always play in Vietnam movies? As they
Time of the season.
There you go. As they ride the helicopter or the speedboat down the river, you're working your way up to a battle scene, but you're going to want to make sure to use those first couple encounters, play up the creepiness of it and the unknowability of the enemy, and like we have to sort of figure out what these guys are and what they're capable of. So we'll say like reconnaissance, I guess, would be a good premising. That's a big Rambo thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we'll just spend 4 more minutes on this maps, gathering info on the enemy, spying on them. We'll go into the battle scene there because we're in the middle of premise scene. So as he is doing his reconnaissance, the battle begins. He gets the demons. They sense him. They're like, we can tell a priest is nearby. Our crucifix sense is tingling. They manage to catch him and they expose his team, and the battle begins. It's sort of like Aliens, where he's the only one that really knows how to deal with them. And the rest of the team is desperately just like, shooting guns at them. He's like, you have to use the holy water. He's trying to teach them how to fight them. So you have the Rambo priest tries to teach his crew how to fight the demons. They are getting torn apart. We'll have them get captured as the midpoints. And we'll move that into the Russian roulette type stuff into the escalation, where maybe we'll find some demonic take on the Russian roulette thing. That's fun. Your all is lost moment is that tragic loss of that central relationship. So let's just make that the second in command that he was sent with. His best friend back from his soldier days now coming, maybe he himself coming out of retirement for this last mission just to support his friend through this. We lose that character in a tragic way, but that works up to your character having this triumphant escape, where I guess maybe while he's captured, he realizes what would defeat them and how to make the special weapon. The demon general, and interrogating him lets a little too much slip about, your Agent Orange would never work against us because it's not blank, right? It's not. It doesn't use silver nitrate powdered in the formula. If you did, well, that would be a different story. But you idiots have no chance against us. So he realizes what he needs to do. In our after we lose the central relationship, we go into the pit of despair. Where now our character is wondering, how can I keep fighting on? How could I win after this happened? How could we possibly pull this one off? At which point, the break into 3 is the moment where our character digs down deep and finds the answer to that. Going back to the beginning, realizing the reasons why he's disillusioned, we probably need to give him something to then answer that question, give him something to fight for, and sort of be the answer of like, why are you here? He ends up having to make a difficult choice to save a kid's life or something like this, where he sort of realizes what his role is here. His job is to save lives, despite the fact that the war effort may not be, you know, something he agrees with, something like that. And maybe fully commits to this path of, you know, I am a warrior priest. And by the end realizes maybe at the beginning he's struggling with either considering suicide or considering going home, considering shipping out and leaving all this behind. But here he commits. He's like, I'm going to stay. These are my boys, and I'm going to see them through. I'm going to be that shepherd that's going to take them to the other side. So maybe it's that sort of about him finding that responsibility and taking on that mantle and that burden of, you know, being the war priest, despite the fact that you're disillusioned and you're beaten down and you're losing your faith. But maybe he finds that faith in his fellow comrades. Maybe that's the answer. So then it's going to lead us into your finale, where now he has to sort of maybe get back to the laboratory of the American side and manufacture that Agent H, as we called it, holy water. And our grand finale will be the let's do Ride of the Valkyries style, deploying the super weapon on the enemy village from helicopters. And in the epilogue, he what do you think? Where do you want to leave him?
Maybe he dies. I don't know. Maybe he sacrifices himself like Jason Miller in The Exorcist for his men.
Great. Yeah, you could do that thing where
Yeah.
you call down the airstrike on your own location. That works pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be good.
Classic war trope. So then I guess the movie sort of ends implying he goes to heaven even, especially if at the beginning he's questioning his faith, like asking, am I worthy of this? Am I the right one for this? And maybe you sort of answer that question with the suggestion at the end that he did the right thing.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for participating in this. I know I just took over at the midpoint just to for the expediency's sake. But I hope this is clear how you can just start from the core of the premise and then build backwards and forwards until you fill out the entire plot with a series of scenes that are constantly challenging your main character, getting more difficult as the story goes on, and we're always paying special attention to that arc, the ways that they're changing, the choices that they're making, and the way that they dig down deep and synthesize who they used to be with what they've learned over the course of the story by the end. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No problem. Any questions on this method of plotting?
My one question is why don't you include bad guys close in? Because a lot of people bring that one up.
I do. I just call it escalation because I thought this was a bit silly. Yeah. So this, if you're reading Save the Cat Now, this is like 5% different. I'm not selling this. This is not some original like formula or anything like that. This is like a modification of a couple different, like mostly Save the Cat with some influence of a couple others, and just some of them given my own names and like branding, I guess. But this is not like some brilliantly original thing. It's more of my best effort to express 3-act structure in these really codified, you know, page benchmark kind of terms.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. But Save the Cat is a great starting point. It was my first screenwriting book, and there's a reason that the structure I'm mostly using is like 90% the same. Okay, other questions on plotting? Great. Okay, sounds good. Anyone have an outline they want feedback on for review?
Yeah, I have one. Unless anybody else wants to go first, because I was talking for a while.
Anyone else? Before we go into it, maybe we'll just open to questions on anything we talked about today. Everyone feeling good with this plotting stuff? Okay, I guess it's just you, Lou.
Cool. Okay, I'll put it in the chat. Let's see. Let me see. There it is.
Okay. So this is not action horror, but more of a crime, yeah, and crime drama investigative type movie.
And we do log lines too. Just wondering, I'm a little behind. So.
Yep, we can look at log lines. Do you have one to share?
Yeah, but you can do it after the.
Sure, you can post
I
it in
think
chat.
that one.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's see how much you have. You've got about 5 pages of story beats without page numbers. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay, I'm going to start at the top.
Sure.
Okay, Franklin, political thriller, investigative drama, JFK, Fargo, Psycho, protagonist Gary Caradori and Alicia Owen. Theme is that justice isn't worth much when the law is bought and paid for. Okay, so about systemic corruption, it seems like.
Mhm.
When a skeptical private investigator uncovers a child abuse ring stretching from 1989 Nebraska all the way to Washington, D.C., he must expose the truth before the powers that be can destroy him, his family, and countless victims he swore to protect. Okay, high stakes. The only thing that sounds a little odd about this to me is it's stretching from 1989 Nebraska. It sounds like 1989 Nebraska is some kind of special place where I think just the story takes place in 1989, and I would just cut it from the log line, or you could put it at the beginning, like well, I'm not exactly sure the best way to do it, but just something about the phrasing it as stretching from 1989 Nebraska to DC sounded odd to me. Maybe just put it at the start instead. Okay, he must expose the truth before the powers that be destroy him, his family, and countless victims he swore to protect, meaning that the powers that be are the people that run the ring?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that mean the government? Like it's sort of a like government cover-up kind of thing?
Something like that, yeah.
It is. Okay. So in that case, you might just want to give us a little more rather than just describing them as the powers that be, because that could be almost anything. You may want to say something like, when he uncovers a government-run, child trafficking ring, whatever it is, he must expose the truth before a specific antagonist or before that group is the one that can destroy him. This is just a little vague. Doesn't quite tell us who he's up against.
All right, I'll be more specific.
All right. So, dual arc design, Act 1 and Act 2A, Gary's story, conspiracy, paranoia, and the hunt for justice. Act 2B and 3 is Alicia's story, revelation, bravery, and the miscarriage of justice. The baton passes through Gary's death in a mysterious plane crash, turning the audience from hunter to hunted. Okay, ambitious. I can see why Psycho is on your list of comps. It's one of the most challenging tricks to pull off, but it can be done. It is you're playing a dangerous game, but if you nail it, then it can blow people's minds. Okay, so starting at Act 1. Anything you want to say before I just start reading?
No, just I wasn't exactly sure how to do this, so just adding anything more would be helpful.
Oh, is this your first time writing story beats out like this?
No, I did it for the novels I did, but it wasn't very good, I didn't think. But this is my first time for a screenplay.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. No problem. All right, Act 1, cold open, I suppose. Alicia is lured into an unspeakable world of child abuse and depravity. She goes along sheepishly. Tone, horrific, unjust, conspiratorial, sets the theme. The rich and powerful do as they will. Okay, I'm not quite sure what it means exactly. This is kind of like not that concrete. I suppose it's like a description of the type of scene that it would be, whereas you generally want to say what happens, like who's the character, what are they trying to do, what are they up against, what tactics should they use to try to get it, what happens as a result. So it seems like this one's just not very defined yet, but that's okay.
All right.
We'll keep going. So your cold open is a girl gets kidnapped, basically, it sounds like.
Right.
Okay. Introduction. Gary, Nebraska, 1989. He's a respected private investigator with a loving family. News of the Franklin Credit Union scandal shocks Nebraska. He shrugs it off as a police matter and none of his business. The central antagonist, Larry King, is introduced in small glimpses. We see Gary's normal world and trust in institutions. Wait, Larry King?
No, not Larry King. A different Larry King.
Oh, okay, right. This is a true story, right? So these are real names. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair play. So who is this Larry King?
So he was the head of the Franklin Credit Union that was raided by the FBI. Um, he went to jail for like embezzlement and things like that, but there were uh like allegations of like child abuse, institutional child abuse against him,
Okay, so he runs a bank, is that
and
right?
a credit union,
I'm not sure the
which
difference myself. Even
yeah,
had a
it's
credit union before.
very similar,
I thought it was
very
pretty.
similar.
Okay. So in any case, you're setting up your main. So scene one, girl gets kidnapped. Going into the rest of intro, you have a private investigator that is successful and well liked, and you're also sort of setting up another character that is the head of a credit union, but we don't know why he matters yet or how he's connected. I guess maybe you are saying that he was in charge during the scandal here. Is that what the connection is, or is
Yeah, yeah.
he was okay? So is that scandal seen as his fault?
The yes.
Okay, so maybe that's his introductory scenes. Him, people blaming him for this, him doing a press conference where he tries to dissuade the blame away from him. You could even do, a scene at home where somebody in his house is just watching TV and he angrily turns it off because he doesn't like how he's being blamed for it. I would just think of like expressing what that character wants in the same way that you do with your protagonist. So like, what is missing from his life? What course are we setting him up to go down? All right, so we've got Gary's normal world trust in institutions. Okay, so he maybe works with the police, I would think. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So he's very by the books.
By the books, yeah.
Got it. So you'll probably want to see a couple short examples of him doing his thing in the intro. So maybe the end of his last case or solving a crime. I think you had been writing out a version of a scene that was kind of like this. So, Catalyst, the Franklin Committee shows Gary their findings on the Franklin Credit Union scandal. Gary realizes there's a massive cover-up of corruption. Wait, let's slow down. The Franklin Committee shows Gary their findings on the credit union scandal. So why? Who is this? What is his relationship to them? Are they hiring him for something?
Yeah, they're trying to hire him because there's like a slew of uh resignations. So they kind of bring him in later on.
Why do we need a private investigator for resignations?
Because the investigation needs like a lead investigator, so they hire him.
But what are we investigating?
The Franklin Credit Union, like the allegations of like child abuse.
Oh, okay. Um, Wait, so that's the scandal you were talking about? The
Yeah.
Franklin Credit Union scandal? Oh, okay, that kind of downplayed it. I was thinking that was some other event that you were talking about. So this is the Franklin Credit Union scandal. Is that someone being suspected of kidnapping kids, or what exactly is that?
It's yeah, allegations that they were running like a child prostitution ring.
Oh, it's uh that substantial even at the start. Okay, so
Right, yeah.
Okay, so allegations that Larry is running, or was in charge at the time, I guess, or like had a hand in this sort of child kidnapping prostitution ring.
Right.
So is he being taken to court, or what's going on with that?
So he's in trouble for like the financial aspects, but not really the child abuse aspects as of yet. They're just kind of investigating it at this point.
Okay, got it. So yeah, is he trying to prove his innocence? Is he trying to exonerate the company, or like save the company? Is he trying to get a promotion? Like, what is he actually trying to do? Is something I would set up there.
Okay.
All right. So and did we meet the Franklin Committee in the intro sequence, or are we meeting them for the first time at the Catalyst?
We meet them at the Catalyst.
Okay, so they show up and they're like, "Hey, Gary, remember that job we hired you for?" That sort of thing, and then we have a new lead like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's already in the middle of this job as this movie begins.
No.
Is that
This is him coming into the committee already exists, but I show them as kind of like fledgling before Gary comes on board, and Gary is kind of like gets them into shape.
okay? So when they show up, they're meeting him for the first time. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, comes to Gary's office, I think would be how you want. That's the catalyst. Then everything else. So you have too much in your catalyst. Everything else here goes down into trying the logs. Catalyst should just be one thing, one event happening. In fact, React structure is pretty much broken up into sequence, then a single event. So intro is a sequence, catalyst is a single event. Trying the locks is a sequence, break into two is a single event. So if you have a bunch of stuff under the catalyst, or a bunch of stuff under the act break, or a bunch of stuff under the midpoint, or a bunch of stuff under all is lost, pare it down to just one key turning point. So the committee comes to Gary's office with a job. This is how a lot of detective stories play their catalysts. And then when we go into trying the locks, they're going to explain what the job is, and we have to tell him like the backstory, and like this is the audience probably learning about this for the first time too. So they have to they pitch him the job.
Okay.
And we meet the committee and all that stuff happens here, of course. And this is where your character like in a lot of sort of like the noir genre, your character will not accept the job right away. And there will be some reason why they can't, or they won't, or they're too washed up and they're about to close for business. And they're like, I'm not doing detective stuff anymore. So if your character actually takes the job right away, then you'll have to find some other sort of point of tension and a different threshold for him to cross at the break into two. Because if the threshold to cross isn't I accept the job, we have to ask what is it really then. So we'll work up to that. All right. So
I kind of had that in trying the locks.
Okay. So they pitch him the job. They mention they describe the case to him. They show him their findings on the scandal. He realizes there's a massive. When you say he realizes there's a cover up of corruption, is that them having already figured that out, or is that him saying, "I think I know who's really behind it just from looking at what you have given me so far"?
No, he realizes it from their findings, what they have already.
So they realized it already, and they're telling him, "We think that there's a big cover up and corruption here."
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So it's not really him realizing that then. They inform him that there's a massive cover up of corruption. The main character is not actually being active or making a choice there, it sounds like. You say he wants nothing to do with it, not to put his family in jeopardy. Interesting. Okay. So that should probably be in the same. This is in all the same scene, by the way. So has his family never been put in jeopardy by his cases before? Would this be the first time he's dealt with something like that, you're saying? He's been like small time.
Yeah, this is yeah, because he mainly looks for like runaway children and stuff like that. But this if there's like institutional abuse going on, he's worried that it would put them in jeopardy.
Okay. Is he successful? You seem to mention he's well liked, but is he doing well, his business?
Yeah, very well.
Very well. Okay, then why would he even take the job? But I mean, like if you're doing very well, doing small scale version of the work, then there's little reason for you to put your. I guess let me read to the end of the sequence, and maybe that will answer my question. Okay, mention the child ring. Meet the committee. He wants nothing to do with it because it would endanger his family. But then he's pressed by Omaha PD, and his sense of justice becomes too much for him, and he takes the case. That feels way too easy. There's something off here with the triangle locks. Let's keep reading.
Okay.
Couple more sequences. Maybe I can come back and give you some ideas there. All right, so break into two. He officially joins the Franklin Committee. He enters the upside down world. Larry King's connection to finance, politics, and a vast criminal underworld. And the detective story begins. Okay, just be careful with like multiple. I know this can be just one. This could be just one event, but just watch out for multiple bullet points under an act break. Okay. Sorry. Family and duty thread. Sandy Caradoy versus Gary's monomaniacal quest for justice. It's not really monomaniacal. He just had to get talked into it a second ago. Sandy represents the cost of discovery. She transforms from cheerleader to widow. Wait, I'm sorry. Who is this person?
The wife.
The wife of what? Of who?
Of Gary.
Gary's wife. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the conflict there?
I know I say monomaniacal, but I kind of portray him as kind of skeptical at first of all this stuff, and she's more open-minded about it, but we kind of see their role reversal as he gets kind of obsessed with the case. She's kind of like, oh, you shouldn't do this anymore. So they kind of change perspectives.
Okay, that feels like that should be happening in triangle locks, not after your act break. It seems
Okay.
like if your character is still wondering, should I take this or should I not? You know, what are the pros and cons of me going down this road? That's all. I mean, even in Save the Cat, they call that sequence debate, right? And I veer away from that term debate because it makes most people think, oh, this is all just characters talking. But in some cases, your characters really do need to talk out. Do I accept this or don't I? Do I take the job or don't I? You know? So I would suggest moving that up.
Okay.
And then by the end of that, I mean, so like imagine he says no to begin with, then he goes home, talks to the wife about it. Does she support him taking the job or not? You know, and then we sort of see the different factors that are going into him making that choice. And he should have a legitimately good reason to not want to, and legitimately good reasons why he then feels he sort of has to. The tricky part is then figuring out exactly how to dramatize that. We can come back to it, or just for the purpose of getting through it, we'll keep going for now. All right, we're going into premise scenes. The investigation. Gary hunts for evidence, tracks down leads, interviews witnesses. You're on the right track, it feels like. Alicia is the victim. Troy Bonner, Danny King, Paul Bonacci, maybe, as the powers that be build up against him. Law enforcement, politicians, and media. Wow, everyone's really in on it. Theories emerge. Institutional child abuse, Boys Town, Washington, D.C. Conspiracy web grows. The energy of discovery. We dramatize the thrill of uncovering the hidden world. Tone is suspense, danger, and investigative adventure. Okay. You've got the right idea. I mean, it's not very specific as to what clues are actually leading him from moment to moment, but that's okay. You've got like the right sort of sequence here. Midpoint. Rusty Nelson reveals he has incontrovertible proof, not just of Larry King's crimes. I got shot on the president of the United States. The film's ideological core. Gary. So, okay, just one thing for the midpoint. So everything else goes down now to escalation. There we go. All right, escalation. Gary flies to Chicago and sees the photographs. His point of no return. False victory. Gary feels he understands everything, but where could this lead? On his return to Nebraska, Gary dies in a plane crash. The proof is not recovered. Oh, okay, maybe that's... If you're doing the psycho thing, then that would be the midpoint, but you don't have to put it at the exact point that movie does. Okay, all is lost. We then go to Alicia, the girl that was kidnapped, who's been indicted on 8 counts of perjury. So she escaped from captivity?
Yeah, she did.
Or was rescued or something like that? Do we see how that happened?
Yeah, we do. It's, you know, she gets out of it herself, but she winds up in like prison and stuff like that. I guess I should kind of, once we pivot to her, I guess I should give some information on what happened to her since then.
Sure. Yeah, I'm curious how she got out of it. So she's in legal trouble for lying to the FBI and is being harassed by the press and attacked in prison. Without Gary, her conviction is a foregone conclusion. Her conviction for what? Just for perjury?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess they're saying you're defaming people with your accusations, and therefore that's what you're going to jail as a result of that.
That's right.
Okay, pit of despair. Alicia lies vanquished in solitary confinement. If she recants her testimony, all might be forgiven. Should she? The weight was unbearable. That's a good all is lost. Nice work. Or that's a good pit of despair. All right, break into 3. So Nebraska's about to explode. If Alicia's guilty, the child abuse claims are bogus lies. If she's innocent, she decides to stick to her truth. Her new attorney, Henry Rosenthal, revitalizes her. They'll abuse children. They'll abuse anybody. Okay, so try to just pare this down to one thing happening for your act break. So that would be like a moment where she decides to speak up and speak out anyway. Everything else would be pushed down to either the previous or the next section. I would actually consider moving this up, talking to the attorney into, putting that into pit of despair. So we see all the pros and cons of this. We see her struggling with that decision. We should see why it seems like a really bad idea to testify, and then sort of how that wall gets broken down and how she gets convinced to do that, or how she convinces herself to speak up and tell the truth. Okay, and then I would also move this up here as well, just to add more stakes and weight to that actual moment of choice. So Nebraska's on edge. Her lawyer gives her some tips, and then you break into 3 as she decides to stick to her truth and testify. All right, perjury trial. Rosenthal tries to get justice, but he's thwarted at every turn by the prosecutor and judge. Emotional crescendo as Alicia takes the stand. She's found guilty, but her transformation from helpless child to undaunted truth teller is complete. The system remains intact, except for an Alicia-sized crack. So she gets convicted. They failed to get her off, I suppose.
Right.
Tragic ending. Okay. Larry. Oh wait, but Larry King goes to prison anyway for embezzlement. $40 million. Sandy Caradori memorializes Gary with dignity. Troy Bonner lives the life of countless victims, addiction, depression, always looking over his shoulder. I'm being generous, assuming it's Bonner and not Boner. Paul Bonacci and John DeCamp quest for truth as they see it. The system marches on, leaving millions crushed in its wake. Good lord. All right, Alicia labors on a chain gang on a winter dusk with a hopeful smile on her lips. What is she hopeful for? Everything was horrible, and she got punished after what has gone well? What's the hope? Where's the hope come from?
Still working on that.
That's okay. You don't
Yeah,
have to know yet.
I fleshed it out. I think my scene cards are better because they really explain what the hell is going on. I wanted to keep this kind of short, but
It's the right idea.
just get yeah.
Okay, so feedback overall in the outline. You are taking I know I mentioned it's sort of it's a tricky trick to pull off. Swapping protagonists at the midpoint or slightly after, to the point where almost no movies do this. It has been pulled off a couple times and is it's doing a triple backflip and landing on your feet. So if it doesn't work perfectly, the audience will hate this and it will ruin the movie. So you have to just be so careful with how you play that. And something that I would recommend is making sure it feels like that character's actions actually matter in the second half. Everything that the investigator did, try not to just forget about him and move on from him entirely. You could even understand, maybe even thinking of that hope, right? That conviction that she develops to speak up and testify. Could that be a result of her somehow being inspired by the investigator, or seeing the work that he's done and realizing that we actually have a chance at this? Or I'm just wondering if you can how you can make it feel like there was a deliberate narrative point to it and not just well, we just abandoned that character arc. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's tough, very tough to do, but I would look for ways that his influence can continue to pervade the story. And since we spend 60% of it with him, it feels like fundamentally his story. And then so I think by the end it still kind of has to be. And I think we want to know how he was instrumental in what ends up playing out. And if not, if you're basing it so much on real life that you can't find that, and it just turns out no, he just died and never finished his thing, and he failed, and we didn't really learn a lesson from it. Maybe just focus on Alicia instead. You may not really need, if the investigator, you know, the cost of losing that character halfway through might be such that you will want to consider refocusing your protagonist ratio to some extent, maybe spending a little more time with Alicia throughout the story. But either way, I think it could work as long as we it will not feel entirely wasted as long as you sell us on the idea that his actions were instrumental to the outcome of this, and all this feels satisfying and like it mattered. Like the first 60% of the movie couldn't just be cut away. It was necessary and integral. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It would be tough for me to get too into the weeds on specifically how to approach that, especially if you're already into scene cards. But in the next class, I'm glad to look at those cards and maybe give you some more suggestions on how to take it. But I hope those thoughts just give you some direction of where to shape things from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
No problem. You got the right cornerstones in place, though, and it feels structurally solid to me.
All right. Awesome. Still working on the scene cards. It's very difficult, but yeah, thanks.
All good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we've got a logline from Holloway. Are you there, Holloway?
Yeah.
All right. Can you read it out for us to start us off?
Yeah. So basically, in the order for necromancer and school of mystics working against mercenaries, perverse and or close. And then we just got a death code. in this case, their trauma, and the security that has to offer them to extend to the holy level, keep the dead ruling over.
Okay, there's an issue with your mic that makes it pretty tough to understand you, but I can read this out and I can still give notes on it. But if you can switch to a different device, it might help, like a phone or a different microphone or different computer, something like that.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, so let me just read that out so everyone gets it and for the recording. When an ornery necromancer and his team of misfit mystics working as mercenaries traversing purgatory to bring back the recently deceased for a price are betrayed in their latest job by a death cult, they must face their own trauma and the worst the great beyond has to offer to return to the land of the living and keep the dead from ruling over Earth. Okay, I think I actually get the story, but it is overworded and just like excessively kind of phrased. So if I'm understanding, the basics are there's some magic mercenaries that save people from the world of the dead for money, right? Oh, maybe your mic is not back up yet.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. While they're there on a job, they are betrayed by the people that hired them, who now are attempting to kill them or trap them in the land of the dead. Do I have that right?
All right, could you repeat that? I switched
Yeah.
mics, but
All good. It sounds much better now. It's very clear.
right, great.
So as this team is on a job, you're saying they're betrayed by the people that hired them, who are now trying to either kill them or trap them in the dead world for some reason. Is that right?
Yeah, so they're trying to like they're trying to make it so that like the dead rule over the earth.
Okay, so the people that hired them, are they trying to manipulate these guys into doing some kind of mission for them, or what exactly is how is that conflict playing out?
Yeah, there's kind of like one of them is like the key to bringing back like a death god, and like one of the mercenaries has a connection to a death god, and like they want to try and get her and sacrifice her so that they can bring back the death god, basically using her form.
Okay, great. So that's specific and clear. That should be in the logline. So they're
Okay.
trying to sacrifice somebody in the team. Now, what is you said it's a female mercenary in the team, right? Is that your protagonist?
No, she's like the secondary protagonist and love interest.
Love interest. There you go. Okay, so when you want to phrase it in terms around your protagonist, right? So like when sorry, we're hearing a little bit of sound from your mic. Thank you for muting there. Okay, so something like when and just boil this down as much as possible. I'm not going to be able to riff just a perfect logline, but I'm just going to give you the idea of what you want to end up with. First cause would be something like when his second in command that he's secretly in love with, or when his trusted squad leader, or when his, try to frame that relationship up front, is kidnapped in the middle of a mission. And then this team of supernatural mercenaries must travel into the world of purgatory to save her before she's sacrificed, to this death god. And then I guess you could, if you could scrunch all that together, add in the idea that if they don't, then it will end the world. I think those are the basic elements there. So we have a sense of who is your protagonist and why he cares. What is that investment? That's not quite evident in the logline you have there. So try to connect that. Try to add in, it's like a classic pulp adventure kind of plotline, almost like The Mummy Returns, right? It's like my wife's been kidnapped by the bad guy who's going to sacrifice her to allow the evil mummies and monsters and ghosts to invade the world. Very clear. Make sure that's in the logline.
All right.
Cool. So central relationship, protagonist. I guess the ornery necromancer is your hero. You're saying, right? But really, for the purposes of the logline, he's like the squad leader. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it might make a little more sense if you tell us, rather than an ornery necromancer, start us off with like when frame him more as like a team leader, special forces SWAT team leader kind of thing, rather than a necromancer to begin with. I think we'll understand from the nature of what they do, what his powers are, or what the group's abilities are, Okay, I know that was a lot of words, a lot of feedback. Does that make sense? How you would just want to keep it in those really simple building blocks of when this happens to the protagonist, when his love interest is taken, this guy must go on this mission to stop them before they do this, and these consequences occur.
Yeah, I think I understand. I definitely follow. That makes much more sense to frame it that way. So you're getting like that up front with the characters.
Right. Yeah, the specificity of the characters is more important than sort of like explaining all about the world. You can sort of imply the explanation rather than spending too many words on it. So try it again, aim for 35 words or less and focus on the character, relationship, and his investment in that conflict because it's somebody that he knows and loves, his trusted second in command, whatever it is. And then we know exactly why we have to stop them and what the ticking clock is. Nice work. Any other questions?
Thanks.
Okay, if you're all good on questions, then we'll move on. We have 5 minutes left. Anyone else want to ask a question about anything we talked about today?
I was wondering if you could tell us for like next week what a scene card should look like what should it include?
Sure. So I'll just pull up the movie that I'm working on now. Okay, so as you can see, I'm also marking them as green when they are done. So I keep track of progress on here as well. So here's my scene cards tab. Each one has an intro, or like a heading, which is going to include the pages that it takes place on, and also the title. Let me just take the highlights off so you can. There we go. Okay, so there's the page numbers that it takes place on. So you're assessing how many pages each scene will require, and then a title for each scene as well, which could be almost anything. No one's going to see that but you. It's just to sort of keep you on track with what is the point of that moment. And if the scene changes a lot, you might have to change the title to reflect that purpose. Make sense? And
Yeah.
also having those titles also makes it easier to just tell where in the movie you are in your table of contents here. So you're using the settings or using the headings in order to create this really detailed table of contents. And each one is going to be at least a paragraph. You can see there's a short one. And it's going to tell us when and where we are, what the character is doing, what they're up against, how it goes, what tactics they use, what setbacks they face, and how we transition to the next moment.
So a beginning, middle, and an end for each.
Yeah, I would aim for a big paragraph, maximum about a page.
Okay.
That's just what mine look like. You got to find what works for you, though. See, some of mine are just even in this outline. My finale fight is just 2 sentences, even though that would be a 3-page scene.
All right. That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else want to ask about scene cards? We'll be looking at scene cards next week if you want to bring yours in.
I think the homework for next week is to turn in the story beats. 'Cause it's week 3. Yeah. They have one more week to finish the
One
scene
more week.
cards. It's week 4. Yeah.
Okay, my mistake. Oh, and we also have holiday coming up,
But if you're early, that's great. You have more time to write the pages.
Yeah, thank you. My mistake. We'll be discussing scene cards next week, turning in story beats. And next week is writing action scenes, November 16th, week 3. We'll be looking at scene cards and also just writing those awesome fights and chases and explosions and all those scenes you have of werewolves fighting ninjas, fighting mermaids, etc.
And I believe no class on December 7th.
Oh yeah, we're confirmed. I think we're confirmed. Should we announce it now, or do you think it's too early?
Yeah, we have a TV pilot workshop in Los Angeles. If anyone's in the area.
Yeah, it's free. It will be 12 to 6 again at the same location we had our Halloween Spooktacular at. So downtown Los Angeles in Boyle Heights, December 7th, all day from 12 to 6, we'll be doing a TV writing workshop where you'll write an entire outline of a brand new pilot. So hope you got this free. So hope you guys join us for that if you are in LA. The rest of the upcoming delivery dates and schedule is in the chat. Thank you, Nacho. And we are still, as I mentioned, running TV Bootcamp Friday 6 to 8, post-apocalyptic dystopian, and Saturday 12 to 2 is novels until the end of the year. Any last thoughts?
Table Reads is starting up right now in the same channel, so you can hang out and read a part, or if you've got a script to submit, you can upload it
Great. Thank you, Nacho. I'll be wrapping up this session then. Thank you everybody for coming and for attending and participating in the exercises and everything else. We will be back next week with more action horror, and we'll see you soon for your next script camp class or event. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys.